So, a new alliance has just popped up in Myanmar's Spring Revolution, and honestly, it's forcing a really tough, really important conversation about what unity even means. It's called the Spring Revolution Alliance, or SRA, and its very existence is making everyone ask, what's the right way to unite?
And really, this whole thing boils down to one fundamental question, right? How do you actually unite a revolution? I mean, it's a challenge that can make or break any movement. And for Myanmar, the stakes just couldn't be any higher.
And look, this isn't just about another armed group joining the fight. The SRA's creation is a huge political statement. It's basically forcing people to choose between two very different ideas of what unity should look like.
All right, so to really get what all the fuss is about, we first have to be super clear on what the SRA is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't. And to do that, you've got to pay really close attention to the specific words they're choosing to use.
Okay, so the SRA very specifically calls itself a coalition, or Tat Pong Su. Now, trust me, that's not just a random word choice. It signals something much bigger, a long-term political project with shared goals. We're talking way beyond just temporary agreements to fight together on the battlefield. And yeah, this slide right here gets to the heart of it. A military alliance is tactical, right? You team up for a specific fight, and that's it. But a coalition, that's strategic. It's political. The SRA is the very first group in this revolution to officially call itself a coalition. And that single word is what's making all the waves.
Okay, so let's dig into the first major perspective in this whole debate. This is the argument that real, true unity can only happen if everyone consolidates under one central legitimate authority, and that authority is the National Unity Government, the NUG.
And this is the big question, the one that a lot of NUG supporters are throwing at the SRA. They look at this new coalition and they don't see a step towards unity. They see a challenge, an attempt to create a parallel power structure that could undermine the NUG. Now, you have to admit, the argument for NUG leadership is pretty compelling. It's built on a few really key ideas. First and foremost, its legitimacy comes from the 2020 election, and that's a powerful weapon against the junta. For a lot of people, that makes the NUG the only legitimate government. From there, the thinking is that a single, centralized command is just the most effective way to fight this war and hopefully rebuild the country later. But of course, that's not the only way to see it. The SRA and its supporters, well, they're pushing a totally different idea, one that's based on the idea of partnership, not hierarchy. This right here, this lays out the two competing visions perfectly. On one side, you've got that top-down model, where everyone is expected to fall in line under the NUG. But on the other side, you have the SRA's model, a voluntary union where independent groups decide to come together as equals to coordinate. And the folks who support this partnership model, they've got some pretty serious criticisms of the NUG-centric view. They say, hey, wait a minute, demanding everyone just fall in line ignores the fact that a lot of these ethnic revolutionary organizations have been fighting for their rights for decades, way before the 2021 coup. They'll also point out that while the 2020 election was important, it had its limits, since many key ethnic parties couldn't even compete. So from their perspective, real unity has to be built on respect and choice, not top-down orders that can feel more like domination.
Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting. The SRA has tried to frame its role in a very specific way. Their spokesperson actually came out and said something like, look, we're not competing with the NUG, we're actually helping them. We're organizing all these scattered groups so the NUG has one easy point of contact to coordinate with.
But an analyst almost immediately called that a sagar kiwan, basically a slip of the tongue. And here's the danger. By trying so hard to sound friendly to the NUG, the SRA might accidentally make itself look like it's not truly independent. And think about it. If other revolutionary groups think the SRA is just a puppet for the NUG, why would they ever want to join? It could seriously backfire and stop the coalition from growing. Okay, so let's put the political theory on the back burner for a second and just look at the practical reality of the SRA. What are its actual strengths on the ground, and what are the real-world hurdles it's going to have to clear? When you look at the SRA, its biggest strength is impossible to miss. It's geographic diversity. I mean, just look at the list of regions represented here. We're talking Sagaing, Magway, Karenni, all the way down to Mon and Chin. This isn't just some local bloc. It has the potential to coordinate military operations across the entire country, all at the same time. That could be an absolute game changer.
But here's the flip side. All that diversity, it comes with a massive challenge. The SRA basically inherits all the old rivalries and divisions that have been around for years.
For example, because the Chinland Defense Force is in, it might be way harder to get the rival CNA/CNF on board. Same story in Karenni State. But KNDF is in, but what about the other major forces there? These aren't new problems the SRA created, but they are absolutely problems it now has to figure out how to solve. So where does all this leave us? We've got two different models for unity, and we've got a new coalition facing some very real challenges. What's the most realistic way forward? What's the path to the kind of unity that can actually win this thing?
Well, the analysis suggests that maybe it's not about one side winning. Maybe the path forward is more of a gradual, step-by-step process. The idea is that first, you see more coalitions like the SRA pop up. Then, these separate, strong coalitions start working together, building trust. And eventually, they could all merge into a kind of grand alliance, a coalition of coalitions.
And that leads to a pretty powerful and, optimistic conclusion. It suggests that when that grand alliance of equals finally does come together, the revolution will become an unstoppable force. And at that point, the military junta will, without a doubt, be defeated. And that brings us right back to the central question for the future of this whole revolution. Does true unity mean everyone has to pledge loyalty to a single banner? Or is the real strength found in building something that's big enough, flexible enough, and strong enough to embrace all of its different, sometimes competing, parts? The answer to that question, well, it's probably going to determine the future of Myanmar.
That's the latest from Diversity News. If you found this report insightful, like the video, subscribe right now, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on the issues that matter.